I wouldn't say it's too controversial to say that pop punk is in a particularly bad place, although perhaps it is a controversial statement to say. I don't really know, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think pop punk is in a pretty damn bad place, to be honest with you, and it has been for quite some time. I think it's become an incredibly predictable and derivative genre. It's become incredibly memeable to the point where, everyone who knows the genre almost knows exactly what they're going to get with every single release. There hasn't really been a way to push the genre forward. And while there are exceptions to the rule in terms of great releases over the past 5 or 6 years, I'm looking at Spanish love songs, for example, with Brave Faces Everyone. Excellent album, by the way, one of the best of the past 5 years, I'd even say. You don't really get that very often. That's like a once a year moment, or maybe even less than that. So if you were looking for more pop punk reviews from me and you weren't getting them, that's where I'm at with the genre, and I've kind of done my best to avoid as much of it as I possibly can. Even the fact that there has been a bit of a revival in the past few years with more like mainstream acts delving into pop punk sounds and styles, which has been quite strange to see. MGK being one of them, Willow, for example, as well. It's not gone down that well, and I don't think either of those artists have painted pop punk in the best light, to be honest. MGK being worse, although Willow seriously isn't that good either. Even none of that has spurred me to go further into trying more artists. I just do what I can to avoid it where possible, because I come across albums like this and I'm just sat there thinking, well, didn't I waste my time for no reason? I didn't know a great deal about Waterparks before this album, so I'm not going to pretend like I knew everything about them. I'd heard their name being floated around. I'd seen that they'd gotten an interesting mixed reception when they did first come about. I think I tried a few songs here and there. I'm sure I did it at the time. But yeah, I was just like, I'm not going to enjoy this. But this new album here, I feel like is so clearly like low-hanging fruit for anyone who already doesn't think pop punk nowadays is that great, because they are pushing themselves. They are pushing the irritation to the boundaries here. They were like, let's be as annoying and as kind of on purposely irritating as we possibly can to piss off those haters, and then we get to moan about the haters as well, despite the fact that I actually know you're just making shite music. Already not keen on the vocal style and the vocal tone on the opening track right out the gate with Star Fucker, which is a really poor track to me. I feel like the modulation or the effects that are placed onto the voice, I guess it's kind of like auto-tune-esque, really add like an ugly sheen to this album, to the point where I don't understand the artistic intent. I feel like if you just had the vocals isolated without this extra layer of awfulness, they might have been bearable, like it might have been passable, but that extra layer just makes it really hard to sit through. I cannot stand these vocals at all. I think it's a really poor artistic choice, to be quite honest with you. And yeah, the tone of his voice is already pretty weak. Like, he's not a great singer anyway. So when you add this layer on top, good God, does it make it hard to sit through. But then the weirdest thing about this track is that it like just cuts off. It just cuts off. And I don't understand where the hell they came up with that idea from. It's like that Catfish and the Bottlemen album from a few years back, where the last track just cuts off and it's just dead stops. I don't know if they're trying to be ironic. I think at times they are trying to be like that, and I just don't think it comes off very well. Two Best Friends just has this really like tacky melody that goes along on the chorus that almost sounds like, again, they're trying to be funny and a bit quirky. The humor doesn't land well for me at all, so I'm already just really irritated by tracks like this right out the gate. And then the melodramatic lyrics that come through on this album, I mean, there's some really bad moments in that sense, but good God, it really reeks on some of these tracks, especially this one for me. Just when I thought the vocals couldn't get more worse, though. More worse? Is that a thing? More worse? Worser? I don't think that's right. You've got the upper register that he goes for on End of the Water, where he actually starts to go into a bit more of like a falsetto, and it's just like, oh wow. When I thought he was not going to get any worse, he finds a way to somehow get worse. There's also Screamo that comes through on Real Super Dark, which again sounds like something that you'd get from like an edgy artist like Youngblood. That just is really cringe to me. But the fact of the matter is that no matter what they try, with these vocals, it just never works and it never sounds good. Like even the screamo sounds pretty bad, and I'm not against screamo, I like it when it's done well, but this just is not good. You've got Fuck About It, which is a track that features Black Bear, and that's an immediate red flag. Like immediately, that is a massive red flag. You don't want to see Black Bear featured on anything, ever. This guy is not a good artist. He's probably made worse music than friggin' Waterparks here, and that's saying something because this is a really bad album, in case you hadn't already figured that out from this review. But Black Bear, seeing this guy listed, I'm just like, nah, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I don't ever want to see that. This guy is an artist that is trying so hard to sound cool. Like, whenever he's rapping or attempting to rap, he just sounds like he's trying to ooze this coolness. And I think if you're trying too hard to be cool, it's obviously never something that has that effect. It has the opposite effect every time. And he has that whenever he pops on a track. But he's nowhere near an Aries. He's nowhere near a Breakance, who just have that instant infectious coolness that immediately makes you just want to be like them in the way that they present their vocals. Black Bear is not like that. This track is not good. And we have to address one of the worst songs I've heard all year. One of the worst songs of the year, period. Self-Sabotage. Jesus Christ, what are these lyrics? The lyrics on this track, they literally sound like at times like they're trying to be AJR. Like the instrumental sounds like it. The way the vocals are presented, it's like pop punk AJR. I'm not frigging kidding you, man. But the lyrics on this track and across this album are incredibly melodramatic and really, really awkwardly presented at times that I just find really, really icky in a way. I hate using words like that because I know a lot of social media talk is like, what gives you the ick? And I always find that really cringe. But this track really does give me the ick from start to end. I have to read out one of the lyrics here. If you like when we talk, I'll dislocate my jaw. Like, he's trying so hard to present this idea of like self-sabotaging himself to the point where he just sounds like a weird manipulator in a lot of ways, really. And a lot of this album pops up with some lyrics like that I know is a bit of a trend for pop punk in the way that lyrics can be presented. There's no denying that. But goddamn does he take it to the extremes on this track. And the way he signs off the line as well, where he goes, like, what is that? I'll dislocate my jaw. The worst part about it is that actually when you hit the track closer, it's not that bad. I mean, it's not a saving grace by any means, but it kind of had all the elements that I was saying before that they should have just stuck with, you know, not slapping all this weird effect stuff on the vocals when it doesn't need it, not having this ugly sheen. Again, it's not a track I'm ever going to come back to, but man, it was at least a tiny glimmer, the tiniest of glimmers. It was like when you get an electric shock and you see the little like blue light kind of like pop out of whatever the electricity is you're using, kind of like it kind of like sparks out a little bit. It's that kind of glimmer. It's there for a split second and it goes, right? It ain't something that you don't really want to experience it, just like you wouldn't want to experience an electric shock. This is not a great analogy, but I think you at least get what I'm saying. But then they kind of ditch that immediately in the final track, A Night Out on Earth, which I just don't even get the concept of this song, honestly. Like, I guess the idea is just like living on Earth and this is what Earth's like, but I don't know, I just think the execution's really shoddy. The vocals sound really crappy again. Yeah, this is not good. It's been a while since I actively shat on an album, but I just wanted to bring awareness to this one because I feel like it truly is one of the worst albums of the year, and it's going to end up being that way when we get to the end of the year. And I just kind of want to celebrate that, actually. Like, every now and then, it is kind of funny to dog on an album, you know? I try and avoid myself dogging at times, but every now and then, you kind of just got to do a bit of dogging, you know? It's a 3.5 out of 10. I think reviewing this was probably pointless because I think anyone who knows me and my music tastes would probably be able to guess that I wouldn't like this, but this truly is poor. And if anyone out there loves this or likes this, I would love to know what it is about it and this band that you think is worth your time, because good God, I need to know. Like, I actually really am curious as to what it is about this album that you could listen to and enjoy. Like, it is quite the spectacle of an album in that sense for me. It's just pop punk at its worst. It's lyrics at its worst, it's vocals at its worst, it's so much at its worst. And yeah, I'm kind of impressed that this album is out there for me to listen to and shit on, because yeah, that is a terrible misfire of an album for me, this one. Let me know your thoughts on my review, on what I think, if you agree or disagree. Let me know your thoughts on the album. Like I say, I need to know what is the worst album of the year so far. Is it this? If you have heard it, if there's a worse one, also let me know. And thank you for watching as always. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please don't hate if you love this album. I'm not hating on you, and I'm not hating on the people that are in the band. I just think the album's bad. So thank you as always. Subscribe, have a good day, and goodbye.